Hi guys, today we're going to talk about 8.2, perimeter of composite figures notes. Our I can statement, I can find perimeters of composite figures. A composite figure is made up of triangles, squares, rectangles, semicircles, and other 2D figures. So we have an example of composite figures here below. We have, kind of looks like a trapezoid originally, but we can actually break this down into a square and then a triangle. The second figure, it looks like a part of a basketball court. We have the rectangle that it can be broken down into, and then a semicircle. So what we're looking for is perimeter of these things right now. In a later section, we will actually be talking about area of these things, these shapes, the composite figures. To find the perimeter of a composite figure, you need to find the distance around the figure. So remember, that's what perimeter is. Example 1, we need to estimate the perimeter of the arrow. And I'm actually going to zoom in. See if we can get close enough. Okay, so let's point this out before we start drawing. Each half square is 1.5 units, and we're going to talk about that. So if we split one of these squares in half from corner to corner, and that was not very good. If I split from corner to corner, let's go really far in. If I split this corner to corner, it's actually a longer distance than one side length. Okay, so that's what it's talking about. So if I am splitting from here to here on that image, that is worth 1.5 instead of just 1 as we go across. Okay, let's move back. So we need to estimate the perimeter of the arrow that's here. So what we're going to do, again, we may not get an exact because we are estimating that that diagonal distance from corner to corner in any given square is 1.5 units. And in this case, we're going to actually label it units because we don't know if we're measuring in centimeters, meters, millimeters, feet, inches. We don't know what we're actually measuring in. So we're going to go through and we're going to start counting our figures. So along the side, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 units here. Let's make this a little thinner. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 along this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Now this is where a lot of people forget to actually count this. We need to count from here down to the corner. So that's 2. And we have that happening up here at the top. 1, 2. Okay, now we're at our diagonal. So when I count diagonally, and it's all diagonal, so I can kind of count 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 that are going diagonally. So I'm going to do 4 times 1.5 because they're each worth 1.5. So 4 times 1.5 is going to give me 6. So if I took 1.5 and 1.5, that's 3. Then another set of 2 is going to give me another 3. So 3 plus 3 is 6. So I have the same thing happening over here. I have 1.5 plus 1.5, 3. And then 1.5 plus 1.5, which is 3. So again, I have 6. So if I'm estimating this perimeter, I can add them all up. So when I add this up, do 2 plus 6 plus 4 plus 6 plus 2 plus 6 plus 6. And that is going to equal 32 units. Okay. All right, so you're going to go ahead and pause the video and try the next 2 on your own. Remember that as you cut through about halfway through, that's 1.5 instead of just counting it as 1. All right, let's look at example 2. So we have a semicircle and a triangle over here. And actually my picture, there's another number that's cut off. It should say 6 feet over here as our base of our triangle. So we have 6 feet down there. And we need to figure out the perimeter of this figure. So anytime that we see that straight edge from here and then over, we're just adding those together. But we have that semicircle that we talked about in the last section. To find the perimeter of a semicircle, we're actually going to be looking for what we call the circumference. Remember, circumference is diameter times pi. Diameter is going to be from one end to the other, one through the center point. So from one point on the circle to the other point on the circle through the center point. So it has to go all the way across. So in this case, the diameter is 10. So we have 10 times pi. But we have to remember, this is not a full circle. So I need to divide by 2. So 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. So I have 5 pi. So 5 times pi is going to give me about 15.7 feet. And remember, that's just the semicircular area. Then I need to add my 2 straight edges. So I have 15.7 plus 8 and plus 6. So here I would have 14. So I'm going to take 15.7 and add 14 to it. Remember, you need to line up your decimal points. In this case, we didn't have a 0, but we can add that 0 to use a placeholder. So I would have 29.7. In this case, we do have a unit. So we would say feet. And perimeter, we don't have anything squared. So we would use just those feet or inches or meters, whatever we are given. Okay, so let's look at example 3. We have a track over on the side, and it is made up of a rectangle and 2 semicircles. So we need to find the perimeter. Remember, a semicircle is half of a circle. Well, if we have 2 of them, we have 2 halves of the circle that would make a whole circle. So really we're working with a whole circle and then a rectangle. Sorry. So we need to find the perimeter. So again, we're trying to find the circumference of a circle. And then we have the straight edges over here. Okay, remember, circumference is diameter times pi. Diameter is how far across. Well, from the center point to the edge is 32. That's the radius. So our radius is 32. So our diameter is double that. So diameter would equal 64. So I'm going to use 64 pi, and I don't have to divide by 2 because I have 2 half circles. If you do divide by 2, you're going to end up with half of it, but then you'd have to double that and end up right back where you would start from, or where you started from. So what you're going to do is then add the 100 meters and the 100 meters. So we have 200 meters that we're going to add to our 64 pi. And our 64 pi equals 200.96 meters. I'm going to add those two together. So 200.96 added to my 200. So that ends up with 400.96 meters. And again, we don't need to square that. It's just perimeter. It's just the straight edge along. And then this part right here is talking about the circumference, so the perimeter of a circle. Okay, you have 3 try on your owns. We have a semicircle and a triangle. We have a square and 2 semicircles, and then find the perimeter of the room that is shown for number 5. Okay, go ahead and pause the video.